Ladies and gentle gamers, welcome back to Be Determined. In today's video, we're going to be going over the complete guide to mining gear progression. Now, I'm not really going to go over the upgrades to the gear that much, you know, like enchants and when to get what type of gemstones, that type of thing. It's pretty much just when you can afford it, get the whole upgrade. But we're going to go over what armor sets to get at what times and what drills you'll be able to unlock at which times. So if you guys enjoy, please make sure to drop a like, smash the sub button if you haven't already. We're closing in on 15k subs as of me recording this, so I'd really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's jump into it. So when you first come to the Dwarven Mines, of course, at Heart of the Mountain level 1, the first thing you want to do is talk to Boo Boo over here in the shop. I think that's how his name is pronounced. Anyways, you have a couple of options. You can buy either the Mithril Pickaxe or the Rusty Titanium Pickaxe, which you can see the Titanium Pickaxe line grants extra fortune on titanium and gives 200 mining speed, whereas the maxed out Mithril Pickaxe gives 350 mining speed and only 10 fortune. So honestly, I recommend going with the Mithril Pickaxe line though. Most of your commissions, which is what you'll mainly focus on with these items, are going to be focused on the amount of blocks broken, so your mining speed actually matters more than your fortune in this situation. When it comes to armor, I'm going to recommend the Glaciite armor set. The whole set altogether should cost less than 100,000 coins at the very, very least. Generally, it should go for about 80 to 50,000, somewhere in that range. But this is just starter gear. It doesn't have any requirements whatsoever. You can just go ahead and start off by using this once you get to the Dwarven Mine. Now, after you've bought this gear, getting the Heart of the Mountain level 2 should be really, really easy. All you got to do is like 3 dailies and you should be there. But there's a few different routes you can go with Heart of the Mountain 2. The cheap route is, of course, getting the Bandaged Mithril Pickaxe and then the regular Mithril Pickaxe. The regular Mithril Pickaxe is a little bit more pricey, but it is 50 extra mining speed, which does help out quite a bit. You don't really have to go for this one. You can just stick with the bandaged for quite some time. But if you can afford it, it's not a bad option. However, if you can afford even more upgrades than that, I recommend warping down to the forge or going to the auction house, where you'll be able to make your first drill, the Mithril Drill SXR 226. This drill gives 450 mining speed and 15 mining fortune. Realistically, it's not very worth it going for at this point, unless you have like hundreds of millions of coins to blow on the skill. The main perk of it is the extra mithril powder that it gives. This will come in handy when you eventually have to grind out mithril powder, which if you haven't seen how to do that, I do have a video on that as well. So again, you probably shouldn't go for this one, but it's an option if you have a ton of money. You will want to get it at some point for the mithril powder boost. But something you definitely do want to get is going into the gear section here and getting the mithril equipment. This equipment set is super duper cheap, only takes an hour to forge, and it's going to be very, very useful for your mining equipment. You do also get access to your first drill part, which is the mining speed and mining fortune. Of course, if you didn't get the mithril drill, this isn't important yet, but it does help out a bit until you can get to the point where you can afford the Sunnyside Goblin Omelet. It is a tiny amount of speed and fortune, but considering it's only a couple mil, it's kind of worth it. Now, once you're at Heart of the Mountain 3, you unlock access to the second mithril drill, which is the final mithril drill in the mithril drill line, which does give 40% mithril powder, so it is kind of nice. But again, I don't recommend going for this until later when you actually start grinding for mithril powder after Heart of the Mountain 7. What I would recommend is coming back to Boo Boo and getting the refined mithril pickaxe, which gives 350 mining speed and 10 mining fortune. Again, if you haven't seen the commissions in the Dwarven Mines, most of them, if they are block related, are going to be mine a certain amount of titanium blocks instead of gain a certain amount of titanium. So mining fortune really doesn't matter at this point. Your main thing is going to be mining speed. You do also unlock access to the titanium pickaxe, but again, I recommend going for the mithril pickaxe line. More importantly though, if we warp down to the forge, you gain access to the second tier of equipment, which is the titanium equipment set. It's a little bit more expensive than the mithril equipment set, but it is an upgrade from that set, so it gives extra fortune when mining titanium and when mining mithril. Plus, its base mining speed and mining fortune is upgraded as well, so it's just nice to have. If you did happen to buy a drill, you do have access to some drill parts. The Goblin Omelet grants an extra chance to not consume fuel when mining a block, which is okay, but again, I recommend getting Starfall Seasoning if you do decide to go with a drill line this early. You can also get the Mithril Infused Fuel Tank, which gives some extra fuel capacity and some pickaxe ability cooldown. It's very expensive though, as you can see down here, 17 to 26 million coins, but you will need this to upgrade to the later fuel tanks later, so you will want to go for it at some point. I just don't recommend getting it at this point. There's also the mithril plated drill engine, which grants some extra mining speed and mining fortune, but again, it's absurdly expensive, going for 28 million coins as of me recording this video. So if you have the money to buy these items, they will be nice on a drill, but the good drills aren't unlocked at this stage, so I recommend waiting. At Heart of the Mountain 4, you'll unlock access to the final titanium pickaxe. Again, I don't recommend going for this line, but it's an option. But what I do recommend going for is the first drill in the gemstone drill line, which is the ruby drill. This drill only costs about 7 to 8 million coins, depending on the auction house at the time, and it grants extra gemstone powder and mining speed when mining gemstones, which you unlock access to the crystal hollows at Heart of the Mountain 4, so this does help out. It does give a tiny bit of pristine too, so it'll help you out with getting some extra money out of mining as well. But if you have a ton of money to spend, you can go ahead and upgrade to the gemstone drill as well, which is an upgraded version of the ruby drill. It does require only 3 extra gemstone mixtures, which is not too expensive, and it gives twice the mining speed, twice the pristine, and 20 more fortune. So it is really nice to have, seeing as it does give an additional 5% gemstone powder as well. However, that is going to be your main use for this drill if you upgrade to it, is getting gemstone powder. So you will want it when you're around Heart of the Mountain 7 if you're intending to grind powder. It does help out quite a bit to get this and then its other upgrades later on. But if you can't really afford it, or if you can only afford this and not many upgrades to it, I recommend just waiting until we get to the titanium setup later on, which will upgrade into the best drills in the game. So instead of buying these drills, a viable option is to actually just get your hands on a Pico Nimbus. These go for 100 to 200k depending on the time, but if people have done nucleus runs recently, they should be pretty cheap. The main problem with these, they do break after only 2,000 uses. However, if you have maxed out a drill or just put a lot of upgrades on it, let's say you put Fortune 3 and Efficiency 5 on this drill, once it gets down to like 5 or 10 uses, you can just buy a new drill, or pickaxe, I mean. You can buy a new pickaxe and combine them together, and it'll keep the upgrade. So that way you don't have to reapply enchants and stuff every single time that you buy a new pickaxe. You just got to make sure that the one you're using with all the enchants and stuff doesn't break. So make sure you keep track of how many uses it has left. But seeing as you'll have access to the crystal nucleus now, you will also have access to a new armor set, which is the YoGoU armor set. So this set requires you to have Heart of the Mountain level 4 to get into the crystal nucleus, where you'll be able to grind your hardstone collection all the way up to level 5. It does require 150,000 hardstone mined, and that's for the Flamebreaker gear, which upgrades into the YoGoU gear. But compared to that Glaciite armor we were using earlier, which as a whole set gives about 40 to 100 mining speed depending on your mining level, the YoGoU armor is going to give 100 mining speed straight up, plus an extra mining speed for every 5 YoGs killed, and 80 mining fortune, which is a lot nicer. The fortune does matter a bit more whenever we're talking about the commissions you do in the crystal hollows. I do recommend sticking with the commissions in the dwarven mines for the most part, but if you decide to run the ones in the crystal hollows, mining fortune is a lot more important then. It is still important when it comes to the other commissions because it means you make more money. It just doesn't mean you do the commissions faster. The only reason I wouldn't recommend getting YoGoU armor though is because once you hit Heart of the Mountain 5, you do unlock access to the Sorrow armor set. Now YoGoU is a lot cheaper and gives really good heat resistance. However, the Sorrow set, being a little bit more expensive, does give a bit more mining speed. It gives very similar fortune, but the base mining speed should be better. And the thing about Sorrow is, even after you max out mining, it is still useful because of the extra magic find on it. So if you've got extra money to spend, the Sorrow gear is good to go for, but YoGoU is completely fine. It's actually better for mining. It's just Sorrow is going to be useful for other things later on. But besides the Sorrow gear, you do unlock some pretty important things at Heart of the Mountain 5. The first of which is the next upgrade in the line of gemstone drills, the Topaz drill, which gives an extra 5% gemstone powder compared to the gemstone drill itself. It does also give 20 more gemstone fortune and 150 more mining speed with 0.5 more pristine as well. However, I don't recommend upgrading this line anymore until you decide to go for powder grinding, which will be more at Heart of the Mountain level 7. What I recommend going for is the titanium drill 355. which is unlocked at Heart of the Mountain 5, and upgrades eventually into the best 2 drills in the game. Seeing as the Jasper drill maxes out at 600 mining speed or 1400 for gemstones, and only 120 gemstone fortune, the titanium drill is the same as the Jasper drill. However, it works on everything, including glaciite. So this is the drill line you're going to want to go for. And the first one is the 355, which currently goes for 44 million coins. So it is on the expensive side. However, that's not the only drill you unlock access to. You unlock access to its upgrade, the 455, which currently goes for 127 mil. And that's not even the last one in the line you get access to here either. Get access to the 555 as well, which goes for 343 million coins right now. But you can see the difference between the 355, the 455, and the 555 right here. 355 to the 455 is 200 mining speed and 15 fortune. And then the next upgrade after that is 300 mining speed and 30 fortune. So if you do decide to go for these drills, I would recommend starting off with the 355 and going as high as you can with these upgrades. And if you still have money left over after that, that's when you can start working on the drill parts that we talked about earlier, the mithril infused fuel tank, the mithril plated drill engine, and you now have access to some better upgrades besides the Starfall seasoning. You have the Sunnyside Goblin Omelet, the Spicy Goblin Omelet, the Pesto Goblin Omelet, and the Blue Cheese Goblin Omelet. Now, the Spicy, Sunnyside, and Blue Cheese all have places in the meta. The Pesto is just not worth it at all. The Sunnyside is pretty cheap right now, currently going for 2.2 million coins. It grants 50 mining fortune, but it consumes quadruple the fuel per block broken. So it is a little bit on the expensive side to continually use, but the extra 50 fortune always pays more than the fuel required to support it. So this is generally what most people will use on their titanium drills or their most late game drill. But there's also the Blue Cheese Goblin Omelet, which I've heard is still used to be able to insta mine gold in the Mines of Divine. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but at the very least it is still useful. You usually don't put this on your main drill. A lot of people with the ultimate late game setups will have 2 separate drills. So like I said before, you can buy the Jasper drill or one of the gemstone drills or one of the mithril drills to increase your powder gain for either one of those. And then you can put one of these omelets on that. And just whenever you use your ability, you'll use whichever drill has this omelet on it and then swap back to your main titanium drill, which will probably have the Sunnyside Goblin Omelet. But honestly, I don't recommend going for either of these at this point. What's more important is the Spicy Goblin Omelet. It gives you 20% extra powder from all sources, which is super duper useful, seeing as you can swap around the drill parts to whichever drill you want. But it is on the expensive side at the moment. These are going for 33 million coins. However, the extra 20% powder from all sources, being able to swap between the gemstone drill, the mithril drill, and the titanium drill, depending on what powder you're going for, is super duper useful. So if you want to wait till Heart of the Mountain 7 to start investing in this, that's fine. You usually shouldn't powder grind until around that time. So in that case, the Sunnyside Goblin Omelet is definitely the way to go. But the Spicy Goblin Omelet definitely has its perks. But you do also unlock access to some upgrades to the mithril stuff. You can get the titanium infused fuel tank right here as well, and the titanium plated drill engine. So these do increase your mining speed and mining fortune, as well as how much fuel capacity you have and your pickaxe abilities cooldown. So if you're going to be end game in mining, you will want to get these at some point. Again, at this point, it's kind of just when you can afford to make upgrades, you can prioritize these drill parts, but they do go for about 35 million coins on the tank and 45 to 50 on the titanium drill engine. So it does get expensive really, really quickly. However, if you did have the mithril plated stuff earlier, it's a lot cheaper to upgrade than it is to just straight up buy these. But you also unlock access to the gemstone equipment set, which is extremely expensive as of me talking about this. These go for about 175 mil a piece on average, 180 mil, some of them going as high as 200 mil per. And that is because they each require half a stack of glossy gemstones. So for the whole set, it is 2 stacks of glossy gemstones, which are exceedingly rare right now. However, as time goes on, hopefully the price will decrease. But as you can see, they grant extra fortune for a specific type of gem. And most of these gems are the ones required for the commissions in the crystal hollows. So it does help you get your commissions done. However, it's not worth the price tag of like 600, 700 mil for the whole set. So if the price goes down in the future, this may be worth it. But as of me recording this, It's definitely not. Now we got to talk about Heart of the Mountain Tier 6. Once you hit Heart of the Mountain Tier 6, you get access to quite a few things. First of which is the Titanium Drill 655. This is where most people will stop whenever they go along their drill progression. This is the drill that I still use to this day, and it's definitely worth getting. At the moment, a clean drill costs about 500 million coins. However, if you mine for long enough, this will definitely make you that money back. All it takes is a couple fiestas to pay for itself. So highly recommend getting this. And if you're going to go and do powder grinding, which you hit Heart of the Mountain 7, you can get your hands on the Jasper drill, which grants 20% extra gemstone powder and is only slightly worse than a titanium drill when it comes to mining gemstones. It only has 200 less speed, but the fortune for gemstones is the same, and it does have 2 extra pristine on the titanium drill. However, if you get the gemstones on the titanium drill, then it has the same amount of pristine. You also get access to the best mining armor set in the game, the Armor of Devon, which grants extra base speed and fortune as well as heat resistance at its base level. The main perks of this though are the gemstone slots that it has right here. So they're very expensive to fully unlock, and not to mention get the perfect gemstones that go inside of them. At the moment, gemstone chambers go for a little under 8 million coins. So if you're gonna get the max amount of gemstones unlocked on each piece, it's gonna be 40 million coins per piece, and that's not even counting the price of the base armor pieces themselves, which the boots and the helmet go for about 30 mil, with the leggings and chest plate going for 35. So that's about 130 million coins for the base set, plus 160 million coins to unlock all the gemstone slots on it. Quickly makes the set add up to almost 300 million coins without any gemstones on it. So yeah, the armor's expensive, but it is the best in the game, and it definitely pays for itself if you mine enough, so it's very much worth it. Now, an honorable mention that we're going to go ahead and throw in here. I don't recommend you get this anymore. It's definitely not worth it, but the Gemstone Gauntlet used to be one of the most decent tools in the game. It didn't quite compare to a 655, but it was comparable to a Titanium Drill 555 if it didn't have any upgrades on it. So, unfortunately, the mining speed did get nerfed to 800. It used to be 1600, but now it is not nearly as good as it once was. I do not recommend getting your hands on one of these at all. Now, once you've hit Heart of the Mountain 7, this is when you can start doing your powder grind more efficiently. You unlock access to the very best drill in the game, the Devon's drill. Now, this drill costs an insane amount. When you look at the items required, it's just the 655, which is 500 million coins, 50 million coins, and a Devon's alloy. So you'd think, well, if the alloy's cheap, then this doesn't cost too much to upgrade. Well, unfortunately, the alloy is not cheap. They're going for about 1.6 billion coins right now. So realistically, I do not recommend going for this unless you are planning on mining for hundreds, if not thousands of hours to pay for it. A Devon's drill is an insane flex, don't get me wrong, it's just it takes forever to pay for itself. The upgrade from the 655 is 200 mining speed and 30 mining fortune. It does have an extra gemstone slot for amber and jade, which means it has extra mining fortune and extra mining speed from that, but still, that's only a 300 mining speed upgrade and 80 mining fortune upgrade for over 1 billion coins. Unless you are going to spend a lot of time mining, I don't recommend going for it. But at Heart of the Mountain 7, you also unlock access to the Ruby Polished Drill Engine, which is a little bit more expensive, but honestly, it's not that expensive to upgrade from a titanium plated to a ruby polished. You also unlock access to the Gemstone Fuel Tank, which has double the fuel capacity of a titanium infused and a 2% extra pickaxe ability cooldown. It goes for about 68 million coins right now, whereas the titanium infused goes for 46 million. So it's about a 20 million coin upgrade. Now, once you get Heart of the Mountain level 8, you unlock access to the Dwarven Hand Warmers, which are pretty good, especially in the Glaciite mine shafts, mainly because of the cold resistance. If you compare them to the Amethyst Gauntlet, it does give less fortune on Amethyst specifically, and if you're using the whole setup inside the Crystal Hollows, of course, the whole amethyst and gemstone setup is going to be better. But as far as base mining speed and fortune, the hand warmers are going to be better everywhere else as long as you're not mining amethyst. You do also unlock access to the tungsten regulator, which decreases your heat or cold for every 500 fuel that you use, which isn't a bad upgrade on its own, but when you think about the fact that you have to either replace your sunny side or spicy goblin omelet with it, it's just not as good. The only place I could see it really being worth it is if you are going for mine shafts, and that would be if you're going for them solo so that nobody else is stealing your gemstones. You get lucky, maybe you get a Jasper mine shaft and you want to mine it out yourself without having to worry about freezing to death, then you could justify using this. But otherwise, it's just not worth it. You can also upgrade to the Sapphire engine at Heart of the Mountain tier 8, which gives 150 extra mining speed and 20 extra mining fortune. It is like a 40 million coin upgrade though, so you really only want to get this if you're really going for maxed out mining gear. You'd also get access to the perfectly cut fuel tank, which is the maxed out fuel tank with 100,000 max fuel capacity and a 10% pickaxe ability cooldown. It is a 60 million coin upgrade compared to the gemstone fuel tank, maybe even 65 or 70 million depending on the times. But as of me recording this, that is the price. If you're buying it from scratch, it's about 130 million coins on the auction house right now. We're getting close to the end. Once you're Heart of the Mountain level 9, you get access to the Amber Polished Drill Engine, which is the best drill engine in the game. It gives 600 mining speed and 100 total mining fortune, which is 50 extra fortune compared to the Sapphire drill engine and 200 extra mining speed. It is another 50 million coin upgrade from the Sapphire to Amber, making it a total of about 160 million coins as of me recording this. But that's the only thing you unlock at Heart of the Mountain 9, and the only thing you unlock at Heart of the Mountain 10 is the extremely expensive Pendant of Devon. This thing goes for about as much. It needs to be a pretty good upgrade to be able to go for that much, right? I mean, it does give 0.25 pristine while in mine shafts. It is a tiered bonus, but none of the other pieces of this set are available right now. They're not actually in the game. But compared to the Amber necklace, it does give 70 extra mining speed, 15 extra fortune if you're not inside of the mine shafts or if you're not mining Amber, and it does give 10 cold resistance. But the main thing is it does have a couple of gemstone slots as well, which means it can get an extra 100 mining speed and an extra 50 fortune. So that just makes it better as long as you're not using the entire gemstone set inside of the crystal nucleus. While mining Amber, this is going to be better for everything else. So it is very expensive though. Wouldn't recommend going for this again unless you are going for the hyper maxed gear and you're filthy rich. Look at that forge time, by the way, an entire week for a single piece of equipment. It's actually insane. Before we end the video, I did want to talk a little bit about the mineral gear. It doesn't really fit anywhere into the regular progression of the game because it does go for ores and blocks only, which don't really help you with commissions or anything like that. It's just for side money making, but it is really, really good right now. If you have a really good set with all the other upgrades that can help out, you can make about 40 million coins per hour from mining gold in the mines of Devon. So it's definitely worth getting, especially the regular mineral gear. It's so cheap, going for about 350k a piece. But the best part about it is it doesn't have any requirements, so you can just buy this whenever and it's just helpful. The thing is, you got to remember, ores do not count for mithril and titanium. Mithril and titanium are dwarven metals. They are not considered ores, so this doesn't help you with those kinds of commissions or anything like that. And it does have an upgrade, of course, the glossy mineral gear, which is definitely very, very expensive. If we do the recipe for glossy right now, each piece requires 16 glossy gemstones, and at the moment 16 are going for 100 mil, so that is pretty accurate as to how much they cost. So each piece of this armor will cost you 100 million coins, so it is going to be a little bit difficult to get your hands on that much stuff, but whenever you can afford it, it is a good investment to make if you want to do some gold mining. Now, I wasn't going to do this originally, but I figured why not? We'll go ahead and talk about the armor upgrades and things that you can do, like enchants. So of course, for the drills, you have the fuel tanks that you can do, the drill engines that you can do, and of course the goblin egg parts or modules that you can do as well. Then there's the ultimate enchants, which the only real option is flow state, of course. For regular enchants, there's fortune, experience, compact. You can get smelting touch depending on what you're mining, efficiency, prismatic, and paleontologist. There's of course the polar void books from the Rift, recombobulators, silexes, Devon's power coding, and power scrolls. The power scrolls aren't really helpful, but all of the other stuff is. The Devon's powder coating is a new item that gives 500 mining speed when applied to drills and 10 mining fortune when applied to a piece of Devon armor. So it is pretty good. It's just super expensive because it costs glossy gemstones. And as I said earlier, those are ridiculously expensive right now. Silexes do upgrade the efficiency level on your pickaxe. So that's how you can get up to efficiency 10. That's from Hardstone collection. So it's a good thing to go for. As far as reforges go, the best reforge for drills right now is Gleaming Crystal or Lustrous. But again, guess what? It requires glossy gemstones, so stupid expensive if you don't want to go for that. The Auspicious Reforges from the Dwarven Geode, which is currently going for about 6 million coins, and that is the second best Reforge in the game right now, so you can go for that one instead. Then, of course, there are gemstones. That should be all for your drills, though. As far as armor goes, there's also gemstones there. The best Reforge is Jaded, which is a drop from the Crystal Nucleus runs that you can get. It's pretty expensive right now, going for 7 million coins. It was like 8 mil yesterday, though, so it's dropping a little bit. There's also the Devon's powder coating if you're running Devon's armor. If not, that isn't an option. Recombobulators, of course. The reason to get recoms on this is because the higher rarity the equipment, the better the Reforge is, so definitely good to get on there. You don't really need any of the books for this. There's nothing special that really helps out. As far as enchants go, protection and growth are good to have if you're doing like something where you're going to be fighting mobs, like glaciate tunnels, for example. But the main one that's actually used for mining is ice cold. Grants a little bit of cold resistance depending on what level you have, so if you have it on the whole armor set, it can be helpful. And then there is equipment, which the best Reforge is Blazing. Second best Reforge is the Dwarven Treasure Royal Reforge. This one's good if you're doing mithril powder grinding as well, so it's very, very cheap right now too, so always good to go for that if you can't afford the Blazing Sphere, which is pretty cheap right now as well. So if it stays that way, then you should be fine to just get this on every piece. But that is the entirety of the gear progression inside the mining skill. But I hope this was helpful. If you guys did enjoy, please make sure to drop a like, smash the sub button if you haven't already. Make sure to check the pinned comment if there's any updates or anything that I need to write down since I forgot to put it in the video. It will be in the pinned comment. And feel free to ask any questions in the comments as well. I'll do my best to answer them. But if you want to know what the best Heart of the Mountain tree is or the best way to powder grind, I have videos on those that are out as well. So make sure to check those out. But thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. God bless.